Listen carefully. Most people live their entire lives hiding behind excuses, drowning in fear, whispering to themselves, maybe someday. But someday never comes. The world doesn't reward hesitation. It rewards action. The difference between a man who becomes unstoppable and a man who stays invisible is simple. Real men take chances. That's the hook. That's the truth. And if you let it sink into your bones, it will change your life forever. Real men understand one thing: opportunity never waits. It knocks once, maybe twice, and then it moves on to someone hungrier, someone braver, someone willing to risk everything for a better future. Taking a chance doesn't mean being reckless. It means believing in yourself when no one else does. It means betting on your potential, even when your circumstances look impossible. Weak men wait for the right time. Strong men create the right time. They step into the unknown with confidence, not because they're fearless, but because they refuse to let fear control their destiny. Every great success story starts with a moment of risk, a moment when a man decides he's done living small, when he realizes comfort is the real enemy. The world belongs to the bold, the disciplined, the ones who take the leap while everyone else is still thinking. And here's the hook you need to tattoo on your mindset. The risk you are scared to take is the one that can change your entire life. Comfort gives you nothing. Risk gives you growth, and growth gives you power. People will doubt you. They will laugh. They will call you unrealistic. But understand this: their opinions are cheap. Their fear is contagious. Their limitations are theirs, not yours. Real men don't let the noise of the world distract them from their mission. They take chances because they know one simple formula: if you want a life others don't have, you must do things others won't do. And the path to greatness is always paved with risk, not blind risk, calculated, strategic, disciplined risk. A real man studies the battlefield, prepares his mind, sharpens his skills, and then moves with absolute certainty. So when life presents you with a door cracked open, don't stand there hesitating. Kick it wide open. Don't wait for permission. Don't wait for someone to validate your dreams. Men who take chances understand that fortune responds to boldness. Success favors the man who acts, not the man who wishes. And every time you take a chance, every time you push past fear, you become stronger, sharper, and more dangerous in the pursuit of your goals. Real growth starts where comfort ends. And this is a truth most people avoid because it demands responsibility, discipline, and courage. Comfort feels safe, predictable, and easy, but that's exactly why it destroys potential. Nothing extraordinary has ever been built inside a comfort zone. The man you dream of becoming is not waiting for you behind your routines. He exists on the other side of your fears, challenges, and discomfort. The uncomfortable path is the path of transformation. And here's the hook you must engrave into your mind: if it doesn't challenge you, it cannot change you. Every time you choose comfort, you trade a piece of your future for a moment of ease. You give up long-term strength for short-term relief. Growth demands a level of discomfort because it forces you to stretch past your limits, and limits only expand when they're pushed. When you choose the harder road, you gain something invaluable: resilience. You gain a mindset that refuses to settle, a spirit that cannot be broken, and a level of control over your life that comfort will never give you. Growth is not found in smooth moments. It's found in friction, pressure, and controlled struggle. Comfort is deceptive. It feels like rest, but it is actually stagnation. It feels like protection, but it is actually imprisonment. The biggest trap men fall into is believing that life gets easier when they avoid challenges. But the truth is the opposite. Life gets harder when you play small. When you stop pushing yourself, you lose momentum. When you lose momentum, you lose confidence. When you lose confidence, you lose direction. And without direction, a man becomes lost inside his own life. The hook is simple. Comfort is the slowest form of defeat because you don't notice you're losing until everything around you is already gone. Real growth begins with choosing the uncomfortable decision on purpose. It's waking up early when your body wants to sleep. It's speaking up when your fear tells you to stay silent. It's pursuing opportunities even when you're unsure you'll succeed. Discomfort is the price of evolution, and every moment you willingly step into it, you become a stronger version of yourself. This is the difference between men who rise and men who remain the same for years. Those who rise are not fearless. They are simply committed to moving forward despite the fear. Pressure is not your enemy. It is the force that shapes you. Diamonds are created under pressure, and so are great men. When life puts weight on your shoulders, it is presenting you with a chance to grow. Instead of running from pressure, lean into it. Let it sharpen your decisions, refine your character, and build your mental armor. The world respects men who can endure what others avoid. The hook is clear. Your capacity to handle discomfort determines the size of the life you can build. When you step outside your comfort zone, you discover abilities you never knew you had. You find out you're stronger, smarter, more capable, and more resilient than you ever imagined. Discomfort exposes the truth about your potential. Every challenge becomes a lesson. Every difficulty becomes a tool. Every failure becomes fuel. Growth isn't always loud or dramatic. Sometimes it's quiet, painful, and slow, but it is always worth it. The real question is whether you're willing to endure temporary discomfort for permanent strength, whether you're willing to sacrifice ease for evolution, whether you're willing to do what the average man refuses to do. Because the hook of life is this: everything you want is waiting for you, but it is deliberately placed outside your comfort zone to see if you are worthy of it. Fear is a test, not a barrier. And the moment you understand this, your entire relationship with challenge and uncertainty begins to evolve. Most people mistake fear for a warning to stop, when in reality, fear is often the signal that you're standing at the doorway of something meaningful. Fear appears not to push you back, but to question your commitment. It asks, how badly do you want this? And are you willing to step through the discomfort to claim the life you want? That's the hook you must hold on to. Fear doesn't block the path. Fear is the path. Every powerful transformation in a man's life begins with confronting something he once avoided. Fear is simply the mind's attempt to protect you from the unknown, but all growth, opportunity, and greatness exist in that same unknown. When you run from fear, you run from your future. When you walk toward it, even trembling, you unlock levels of strength and clarity that comfort will never offer you. Men who succeed are not gifted with a life free of fear. They are disciplined enough to act through it. They understand that bravery isn't the absence of fear, it's action in the presence of it. Fear tests your conviction. It separates the dreamers from the doers. Many men talk about goals, success, ambition, and becoming better, but the moment fear shows up, they step back into safety. They choose comfort over progress. But real men step forward. They understand that fear is nothing more than an invitation to evolve. The hook is simple. Your future self is hiding behind the things you're scared to face today. When you choose to confront fear, something remarkable happens. You begin to build inner power. Every time you push through discomfort, you gain proof that you can handle more than you thought. This evidence becomes confidence. Confidence becomes momentum. Momentum becomes transformation. Fear becomes fuel. The strongest men in any field, whether business, leadership, creativity, or personal growth, all share one trait. They feel fear and move anyway. They use it as a signal of importance, not a signal to retreat. Fear is also an incredible teacher. It forces you to study yourself. It exposes your weaknesses, your insecurities, your unhealed doubts. Instead of fighting the presence of fear, examine it. Ask why it exists. Ask what it is trying to protect. Ask what part of your identity needs strengthening. A man who studies his fear becomes a man who understands himself, and self-understanding is one of the highest forms of power. The hook is powerful. Fear reveals what matters most. So chase what scares you. Avoiding fear leads to stagnation. You become predictable, cautious, and unable to evolve. Life becomes smaller because your comfort zone becomes smaller. But when you confront fear consistently, your world expands. Challenges feel lighter. Opportunities feel closer. Risks feel manageable. And life feels like something you're actively shaping rather than something you're merely surviving. Fear loses its grip when you stop running from it and start walking beside it. Think about every meaningful moment in your life: starting something new, ending something toxic, standing up for yourself, taking a chance on your dreams. Each one involved fear, yet you did them anyway. And afterward, you were stronger, wiser, and more confident. This is the pattern. Fear comes before elevation, every time. When you accept this, you stop waiting for courage to magically appear. You create courage by stepping forward even when your hands shake. The real measure of a man is not whether he feels fear, It's how he responds to it. Do you freeze or do you move? Do you shrink or do you rise? The world respects the man who acts despite uncertainty. Fear is the pressure that forges resilience, discipline, and strength. And here's the hook that should stay with you forever. Fear is not your enemy. Fear is your initiation into becoming the man you're meant to be. Taking risks separates leaders from followers because the moment a man decides to act boldly, he steps into a realm where most people are too fearful to go. Leadership is not granted by titles or applause. It is earned by the courage to make decisions while others hesitate. A follower waits for certainty, but a leader moves with conviction. The difference is subtle yet life-changing. The follower asks, what if it goes wrong? While the leader asks, what if this is my opportunity? That mindset shift is the hook that transforms an ordinary man into a force others naturally look toward for direction. When you take risks, you signal to yourself and to the world that you are willing to take responsibility for your outcomes. Leadership is built on responsibility. A man who refuses to take risks stays stuck in the shadows, comfortable but unseen. But a man who embraces calculated risks steps into the light. He becomes the one setting the pace, the one creating movement, the one others start to follow. This is not because he is perfect or fearless, but because he has decided that progress matters more than perfection. The hook is simple. Hesitation destroys potential, but action creates influence. People follow leaders not because they know everything, but because they are willing to do what others avoid. When you take a strategic risk, you demonstrate bravery, confidence, and initiative, traits that naturally inspire respect. Humans are drawn to certainty, and when you move decisively, you become the source of that certainty. Even if the risk is uncomfortable, even if the outcome is unclear, the man who steps forward becomes the one others trust. Leadership grows every time you choose to take that uncomfortable step first. Risk-taking also separates leaders through the way it builds character. Every risk you take carries a lesson, and every lesson strengthens your decision-making ability. Leaders are not born. They are shaped by trials, failures, corrections, and breakthroughs. When a risk succeeds, you gain momentum. When a risk fails, you gain wisdom. Either way, you evolve. Followers avoid this cycle because they fear failure, but leaders embrace it because they understand that failure is not the opposite of success. It is the process of success. The hook you must remember: the man willing to fail becomes the man capable of leading. A leader sees risk as opportunity disguised in uncertainty, while followers wait for perfect conditions. Leaders know those conditions rarely exist. They step forward because they trust their preparation, their discipline, and their ability to adapt. They understand that taking no risk is often the biggest risk of all. A man who never acts never grows, and a man who never grows cannot lead. By taking risks, you create movement in your life. Movement creates results. Results create influence, and influence is the foundation of leadership. Risk also teaches you how to think independently. When you make bold decisions, you stop relying on others to guide you. You start trusting your own judgment, instincts, and vision. Followers depend on external approval. Leaders depend on internal clarity. Independent thinking is rare, and rare qualities attract attention. People follow the man who has direction, who acts with intention, who makes decisions that come from a place of strength rather than fear. The hook that defines this truth is powerful. The man who leads himself eventually leads others. Every great leader in history, from business icons to revolutionaries to innovators, became who they were because they took chances others considered impossible, unreasonable, or risky. They stepped beyond the limits society placed on them, not because they were certain of success, but because they believed in the value of the pursuit. Leadership is forged through this courage. It's the willingness to walk toward the unknown while believing in your ability to shape the outcome. When you begin taking risks, you send a message to yourself that you are worthy of growth, capable of evolution, and ready to step into a higher version of who you can be. You stop waiting for permission. You stop looking for validation. You stop playing small. The world responds differently to a man who carries this energy. People listen more closely. They watch more carefully. They move when you move. And here is the enduring hook. Leaders are not chosen. They emerge the moment they decide to take the risks everyone else avoids. Success demands sacrifice because nothing powerful, meaningful, or long-lasting is ever created without giving something up first. Every man who has built strength, discipline, or greatness has had to walk away from comfort, distractions, and excuses. The world tries to sell you the illusion that you can keep your comfort and still achieve everything you want, but that is the biggest lie holding people back. The truth is sharp and unavoidable. To rise, you must let something go. That's the hook you must internalize. Sacrifice is not loss. Sacrifice is the down payment for the life you want. A man who refuses to sacrifice remains trapped in the same patterns year after year. He wants success, but won't give up laziness. He wants discipline, but won't sacrifice comfort. He wants opportunity, but won't sacrifice fear. And so he stays stuck, frustrated, and confused about why nothing changes. But the man who understands the power of sacrifice knows that every time he lets go of something weak, he makes room for something stronger. The moment you give up what is holding you back, you create space for what can move you forward. Sacrifice is not about suffering. It's about choosing long-term victory over short-term relief. It is the difference between men who rise and men who remain average. When you sacrifice your old habits, sleeping late, procrastinating, wasting time, chasing validation, you take control of your mind. You discipline your spirit. You strengthen your character. And real success can only be built on a foundation of disciplined character. The hook here is undeniable. The life you want requires the man you are not yet willing to become. Every sacrifice you make becomes an investment in your future. When you sacrifice time to build your skills, the world pays you back in opportunities. When you sacrifice comfort to train your body, life rewards you with strength and confidence. When you sacrifice distractions to focus on your goals, progress becomes automatic. Sacrifice sharpens your identity. It forces you to commit. It transforms dreams from ideas into action, and action is the only language success understands. Most people fear sacrifice because it feels like losing something. But leaders, achievers, and high-caliber men understand that sacrifice is actually a trade, one of the most profitable trades a person can make. You are trading comfort for capability, laziness for discipline, excuses for results. And when you start seeing sacrifice as a strategic advantage rather than a burden, you begin to rise faster than you ever imagined. The hook is powerful. You cannot stay the same and expect your life to change. Sacrifice also builds mental toughness. When you choose to deny yourself something easy or pleasurable, you strengthen the part of your mind that controls discipline. You train yourself to follow purpose instead of impulse. This is the mindset that separates men who dominate from men who drift. Sacrifice teaches you that you don't need instant gratification to feel fulfilled. You find fulfillment in progress, in mastery, in commitment. And a man who can control himself becomes unstoppable. Every challenge you accept, every comfort you reject, every sacrifice you make becomes part of the story you are writing about your life. And when people see your discipline, when they witness your growth, when they recognize your commitment, they begin to trust you, respect you, and follow you. Sacrifice earns you credibility because it shows you are serious about your mission. Most people are loud about their goals, but silent with their actions. But a man who sacrifices proves his intentions through behavior, not words. Greatness demands a price, and that price is consistency, discipline, and sacrifice. You must give up who you were to become who you want to be. You must sacrifice comfort to build strength. Sacrifice excuses to build results, sacrifice distractions to build focus. And here is the hook that defines everything. The moment you embrace sacrifice is the moment your transformation begins. Opportunity has an expiration date, and most people never realize this until it's too late. They think life will always wait for them, that the perfect moment will eventually appear, that time will adjust itself according to their fears and hesitations. But time does not slow down. And opportunities do not stay open for those who refuse to move. Every door in life closes if you stand in front of it too long. That is the hard truth most men avoid. And here is the hook you need to carry with you. Every hesitation costs you a chance you may never get again. The difference between a man who succeeds and a man who stays stuck is the speed at which he acts. Success rewards urgency, decisiveness, and courage. Life does not favor the one who waits, it favors the one who moves. While one man is busy overthinking, another man is already taking the opportunity, learning from it, and growing. Hesitation is the silent thief of potential. It strips you of chances, confidence, and progress without making a sound. When you wait for certainty, you lose advantage. And in a world that rewards momentum, losing advantage is the beginning of losing everything you could become. Opportunities have a rhythm. They appear when preparation meets timing, and they disappear when doubt meets delay. A man who trains himself to act quickly gains a powerful edge. He captures doors before they close. He steps into spaces others only dream about. He experiences growth before others even begin. The world belongs to the man who understands timing. The hook is sharp. If you don't seize the moment, someone else will. And that someone will have the courage you refuse to use. The more you train yourself to respond quickly, the more life opens for you. Opportunities multiply for the decisive. They shrink for the hesitant. When you say yes to a chance, you gain wisdom, experience, and strength, even if things don't go perfectly. But when you say nothing, when you stand still, you gain nothing. You remain exactly where you are, repeating the same days, the same habits, the same fears. Growth requires movement, and movement requires decision. Every great man you admire built his life through the courage to act before he felt fully ready. Ready is a myth. Waiting to feel ready is the reason most people never change. Leaders understand that readiness comes after you take the step, not before. They move first and adapt later. The inexperienced wait, the disciplined act. The bold evolve. The hook is timeless. Your future depends on the decisions you make faster than your doubts can interfere. Opportunities are also tests. Life watches how you respond. When you act with decisiveness, you show that you are prepared for more responsibility, more growth, more abundance. But when you ignore an opportunity, you're telling life you're not ready for more. And life listens. It gives chances to the man who proves he wants them. It withdraws chances from the man who proves he fears them. Every time you overlook a chance, life adjusts and gives it to someone who values action over excuses. Think about how many people regret the opportunities they never took. They replay the what ifs, the maybe I should have, I waited too long. Regret is the price of hesitation, and once an opportunity is gone, it rarely returns in the same form. Timing changes, circumstances change, you change. That's why urgency is not just a strategy, it's a necessity. A man who understands urgency becomes unstoppable because he is always one step ahead of his former self. Every opportunity is a door, and behind every door is a version of you that is stronger, smarter, more confident, and more capable. But doors don't stay open forever. They close when you refuse to walk through them, and the world doesn't pause. It continues moving with or without you. That is why the hook you must live by is this. Opportunity is temporary, but the results of acting on it last forever. Betting on yourself is the ultimate power move because it shifts the entire responsibility of your life into your own hands. Most men spend their lives waiting for permission, validation, or approval from others. They want someone to tell them they're good enough, talented enough, strong enough to succeed. But real strength begins the moment you stop looking outward and start believing inward. That's the hook you need to anchor into your mindset. The world treats you exactly the way you treat yourself. If you don't bet on your own potential, no one else will. When you bet on yourself, you become the architect of your own destiny. You stop letting circumstances dictate your direction. Instead of asking, what if I fail? You start asking, what if I win because I finally trust myself? This shift in belief is what builds unstoppable momentum. Confidence is not something you wait for. It's something you create through action. Every risk you take, every challenge you accept, every step forward you choose makes your belief stronger. You begin to see that your capability was never the problem. Your doubt was. Betting on yourself requires accountability. You can no longer blame the world, your environment, or other people for where you stand. You recognize that your results reflect your choices. This level of responsibility might feel heavy at first, but it's actually the greatest form of freedom. When you rely on yourself, you are never powerless. You are never stuck. You are never waiting. You always have the ability to shift, grow, or change direction. And that is the hook that separates winners from spectators. A man who bets on himself is a man who is in control. Most people are scared to take this step because betting on yourself also means confronting your insecurities. It means facing the doubts, fears, and weaknesses you've been avoiding. But this confrontation is exactly what strengthens you. You cannot grow without meeting the parts of yourself that need improvement. And once you see that your weaknesses can be trained, shaped, and sharpened, you stop fearing them. You begin to embrace the process of becoming better. You stop hiding from your flaws and start forging your strengths. When you trust yourself, your decisions become clearer and bolder. You stop outsourcing your choices to others. You stop asking for opinions that only confuse you. You stop living based on external expectations. The noise of the world becomes irrelevant because your internal belief becomes louder. You know who you are becoming, and you know why your dreams deserve your commitment. That clarity is magnetic. People start to notice your energy. They start believing in you because you first believed in yourself. Influence begins with internal conviction. Betting on yourself also reshapes how you deal with failure. Failure stops being something that defines you. It becomes something that refines you. When you believe in your own capability, a failure doesn't break you. It teaches you. It becomes data, not defeat. Information, not insecurity. A real man understands that every setback is simply preparation for a stronger comeback. And that is the hook. The man who bets on himself never loses. He either wins or he learns. The world respects a man who backs his own ambition. Confidence is rare, and people are naturally drawn to those who carry themselves with certainty. When you invest in your skills, your mindset, your discipline, your habits, you begin to elevate above the average. You create opportunities instead of waiting for them. You command attention without asking for it. You become the man people look at and say, he knows exactly where he's going. And that certainty comes from the internal decision to trust your own abilities more than your fears. Betting on yourself is the foundation of every achievement. It is the fuel behind every breakthrough, every risk, every moment of transformation. When you commit to yourself fully, you unlock a level of strength that cannot be shaken by doubt or circumstances. You become the source of your own power, and the hook that must live in your mind forever is this: the greatest investment you will ever make is in the man you choose to become. So remember this: real men take chances. They don't hide from the storm. They walk straight into it and turn it into their advantage. They don't settle for average. They don't wait for luck. And they never hand their power to fear. Today, you decide what kind of man you want to be. The hesitant one who watches others rise, or the one who rises because he dared to take the chance. The choice is yours, but understand this: your entire future depends on the next risk you're brave enough to take. Be the man who acts. Be the man who moves. Be the man who takes the chance.